ready for winter, which is here. And, you know, this is not that unusual, right, to see this big cool down. I think it's just the shock to the system that's getting a lot of us because it has been so mild to kick off the month. So now the cold is here. It stays in through the weekend. There is a reinforcing shot of cold air that comes in. And then next week, there's another big sort of shot of cold air that comes on down. So we're in this pattern for a bit. Let's look at today's forecast. Temperatures are in the 20s. These are not the wind chills. These are not the low temperatures. These are the high temperatures for today. 22 degrees in Minneapolis, only 20 in Marquette. And we still, of course, have that great snowpack. So we're sort of locked in with the cold here. Tomorrow, a brief from cold to warm up, but a return closer to average. We got 37 for you in Chicago, 34 in Detroit. But then temperatures are going to go back down again on Saturday with that next shot of cold air. And then you see the next one after that. The next round of cold comes in on Tuesday and Wednesday. In Chicago, we do have the chance of some snow coming in, fairly light, but coming in with a little system on Sunday into Monday. All right, Minneapolis, for us, we are going to see temperatures staying at or below average. You can see temperatures in the 20s both today and Saturday. And the next round of cold comes in, and we really feel it by Wednesday with our highs back to only in the 20s. Our average high this time of year is 30. So we'll get above that briefly on Sunday. Let's talk about the Northeast, because first of all, it was just too warm the other day, right? When temperatures were up near 60. Boston, you're practically tropical when you sort of felt that air mass yesterday morning. Today, it's a much different story. We're only going to 41 in Boston, but a lot of 30s for highs back across the Great Lakes. We got Buffalo sitting at 32 for a high temperature for today and tomorrow. And temperatures on Saturday are going to be about the same. 46 in D.C. We're staying in the upper 30s or even just about near 40 degrees in places like New York City. Now, there is a little system not too far off the coast by the time we get to Saturday into Sunday. So we'll keep an eye on that. We've got more in the forecast and that coming up. But I think what you need to notice here is that we're going to be above freezing in Boston, 39 on Sunday, 38 in New York City, but plenty of spots will be below, staying in the 20s in places like Binghamton, New York. So New York City, here's how your forecast shapes up. Not too far from average, actually. We're averaging 46 degrees right now for a high temperature, and we'll be 45 for today, low 40s for you tomorrow, and into Saturday, 38 degrees. That's it on Sunday. That is your colder day. And then we see that big cold come in by next week. That's the bigger sort of cold potential all the way down into the southeast too. All right, D.C., our temperatures averaging 49 degrees right now. So actually a smidge above that today. Not too bad. The real core of the cold isn't getting here to the mid-Atlantic just yet, but we'll feel it by Wednesday of next week, 37. That is it for a high temperature here today. That's how you know it was sleet and not freezing rain, because sleet has a beat and you hear it bouncing. So we had that all the way down into the deep south yesterday. Nothing really stuck. It was just more sort of a novelty situation. But as we get through the weekend, there is going to be another disturbance that comes on through the southeast. Plenty of cool air in place, and timing, I think, is going to mean everything as well. So let's just talk temperatures for now into the south and east. For today, we're going to stay in the 40s. Jackson, Montgomery, even Tallahassee, where yesterday we were up near 70 degrees. Today, 49, and that's it. Orlando, we're going to start to feel the chill. By tomorrow, temperatures go from the 80s into the 70s, and we'll actually get into the 60s by the time we get into the weekend. Charleston, 70 yesterday, 46 degrees for you by Friday, and that's where we're staying getting into the weekend as well. Look at Orlando, not just the 60s. We're dropping now to 59 degrees. So if that's where you are going this weekend, plan for some cooler weather. Let's look at Memphis, where our temperatures are going to be hitting below average. Average high is 54 degrees. We stay below that through the entire weekend. By Monday, we do warm back up to 59 degrees, but there is another cold shot coming in beyond that. So heads up. All right, the Atlanta area, we've got temperatures that average about 56 this time of year. Below that for the entire next 7-day stretch. Now, there is that chance tomorrow of a wintry mix coming on in, but notice the temperature, 39 degrees. So this is not expected to be a real significant event. And luckily coming in through the day, so not expecting any big accumulation either. Let's look at the Atlanta area overnights, because that's when you might run into some problems, not necessarily from falling precip, but anything that's on the ground that may freeze. And we will be dropping down below freezing, in fact, below 30 by the time we get into Friday night, and then again overnight and Saturday night. So this would be the time frame, Friday night into Saturday morning, that you'd watch for any issues on the roadways. All right, let's go coast to coast right now and take a quick look at your Thursday morning weather headlines. The lake effect rain, it's still very dry. We've gone 84 days now without any rain, not a drop of rain in Las Vegas. It's our third longest dry stretch on record, and there's no rain in sight when we look at the forecast. And also we'll watch that Santa Ana wind, that east wind, that accelerating wind, that's in the forecast through the weekend. In the east, we're watching our southern piece of the jet stream, the moisture in it, the chance for some snow in the south. Yep, from Louisiana right through Mississippi, Alabama into Georgia. There is some accumulating snow possible, but there's also thunderstorms that are possible in South Florida as well. Then the front comes into there and we cool down about 10 degrees or more in places like Miami. Saturday's forecast, there is a chance for some wintry mess or mix out there from southeast Virginia into North Carolina in the interior. And then we'll watch that low right off the coast here. It's going to skirt up off the eastern seaboard. Does it throw back a little moisture into eastern New England, the Cape? It's possible, but not necessarily likely. All right, so what kind of snow can stack up the cold that's in place? What's happened to our jet stream? We've gotten into this pattern now after a very warm end to November and start to December, where we've got a deep trough in the east in our jet stream. And that's allowed the cold air to filter all the way into the deep south, actually. So that pattern stays in effect through the weekend. Temperatures are going to be either at or below average, and we actually get into some of the colder stuff in the northeast finally by the end of the weekend. Let's look at today's forecast. We got a lot of teens and 20s out there for high temperatures. That's it today in Chicago, 29 degrees. Des Moines, we stay in the 20s. Even Kansas City and St. Louis, we're struggling to get above about the mid 30s. Tomorrow's forecast, a smidge warmer. Temperatures are still going to be up in the teens where we got the big snowpack, but elsewhere temperatures will head up into at least the low to mid 30s. And that includes Chicago, where our average high is 37, and that's where we'll be tomorrow. So it's hard to complain about it. It's just been so mild to start the month that this could be a shock to your system. And then we see Saturday's temperature. Another batch of cold comes in. We're back down into the 20s. And the cold that comes in next week, Tuesday and Wednesday, look at this. We are in the 20s and low 30s again here. And that's another just big batch of cold that takes hold and heads south and heads east too. So Minneapolis, our temperatures are going to be in the 20s and 30s next couple of days, below average. There is the chance for snow coming in by late tomorrow night. And then again, the next round of cold comes in and we get it first right here as well. So the air is a bit colder before it goes anywhere else because it's coming over the snowpack that's in Canada and into the northern parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin as well. All right, so for tomorrow, temperatures hit the low 40s in Boston and New York, and actually getting colder as we get through the weekend. All right, so winter is certainly taking hold and signs of it all over the place, not just the big puffy coats that are on again. It is actually a forecast of snow that has gotten a lot of you paying attention to the weather. So we'll talk about that. The cold is here, stays in place into the weekend. Temperatures today are going to be running below average. We've got 40s in Nashville, Memphis, Atlanta, all the way down to the Gulf Coast, including in Tallahassee, 49 degrees. That's a big change from the nearly 70 that we saw yesterday. And we stay there through the weekend. Tomorrow is a struggle to get out of the 30s in a good chunk of the south and east. So yes, we do have that chance of moisture coming in. Temperatures will be in the 30s. There is some wintry precip, and we're going to break down exactly what that means. But we look at a place like Memphis, no wintry weather coming your way. It's just temperatures that are running below average. Our average high is 54. We're not going to see that again until Monday when we do briefly get up to 59 degrees. What about the Atlanta area? Look at your forecast. Look at your temperatures. So tomorrow, 39 degrees. There is that rain snow mix in the forecast, and it's not so much when it's falling, but after it's over and overnight when temperatures start dropping that I'm concerned about any kind of slick spots on the roadways. All right, let's go coast to coast right now and take a look at your Thursday morning weather headlines for major weekend in view. And we've got to look at your forecast. There is no rain in the west. That's incredibly unfortunate. Hopefully, at the very least, we can get the winds to calm down a little bit. Then we go to the east, and the story is the moisture stays in place with the cold air in the south, and that's going to mean some wintry weather, yes, even down into the deep south, Louisiana, Mississippi, into Alabama, parts of Georgia. Accumulating snow or slush is possible there. We'll watch also this weekend. Another shot of cold air comes in, brings a little snow with it. We'll see that in the Midwest on Saturday. Sunday, the lake effect is back into for the evening commute. So let's break it down as to what's happening right now for your Monday morning commute. We're going to first go up here into the Ohio Valley where we do have snow. Cleveland, though, look at your temperature, 33 degrees, 34 in Pittsburgh. So we're starting the warm up. It's still cold enough at most of the levels of the atmosphere to get a wintry mix out there this morning. Heading down towards Cincinnati, we're at 33 degrees and some rain being reported right now, but don't be surprised around town that there are some spots perhaps getting some freezing rain or even getting some sleet out there. Going south, Nashville warmed up to 37. We're fine. We're rain, no problems. We won't change back, so don't worry about that. But Knoxville sitting at 30 and waiting and watching for the precip to come in. And so the key is it too dry for it to rain just yet. Is that going to evaporate? And then by the time it does actually start raining, it warms up above the freezing mark. That's the question to watch. New Orleans, we're sitting at 63 degrees with heavy rain heading our way, and then Atlanta 31, and that's where we find Jim Cantore this morning. 31 degrees with a dew point of 10. So right now, temperatures have gone up in Boston, 25 degrees. Burlington, we've creeped up nearly 40 degrees compared to 24 hours ago. So it's a lot different as you step outside this morning. The problem is we're not that far from the freezing mark, so we still have to watch those wintry precip chances. But as we get through the week, the thing is we will be warming up. We'll get into the 40s. Look at Pittsburgh, 48 degrees. Look at D.C., 46 degrees. So we're going to get you out of that dangerous zone of temperatures being in the 30s and too close to freezing and worrying about the frozen stuff out there on the roadways. Look at Buffalo by Thursday, 52 degrees. It's a huge warm up coming, Chris. Hopefully will help out travelers. That's why it's so up in the sky. That's going to matter as to what you have on the ground. So let's bring up our 3D map. Let's bring up the Empire State Building. Why not? This is a good way to talk about what's happening where in the atmosphere. So Empire State Building about 1,400 feet up. And so it's about that level and just above that we start to watch where we have a little warm layer of air that punches in like we see right here. Temperature right about, I'll move it, 33, 34 degrees. That warm layer is going to melt anything that's falling. And it's cold. It's wintertime, right? So it's starting as snow way high up in the sky. You can see that temperatures in the 20s at 6,000 feet, 4,000 feet. We're still below freezing at 30. So we've got snow falling there, but then it hits this warm layer, the top of the Empire State Building as an example right here. And it melts. Now we've got rain. And if at the surface, we're at 30 degrees, it's going to fall as freezing rain. If it warms up just a little bit, of course, if we have just a little more cold air, and there's enough time for this precip to melt, but then refreeze. I'm going to change all the layers just a little bit, but then refreeze. Then we will see the chance for some sleet to mix on in as well. It's a tough look. I'm trying here to make it happen, and I'm still getting snow. It's a tough little recipe for the atmosphere to put together to get the difference between snow or sleet or freezing rain, which is why it's so challenging to forecast exactly what's going to happen on your roadways. All right, so how does this translate into your forecast? Well, Chris has more on that.
All right, Jen, let's get a look here at what we're...
Happy Monday, everyone. We're going to throw the maps on the floor and get your week started. We got a lot going on with this very first storm system, which brings everything from thunderstorms to freezing rain to snow all the way up into the northeast. So we'll track all the different precip types we're going to get out of this and who gets what. Plus, we got a big warm up coming our way. Temperatures going above average. We'll see this slide to the east as well, so get ready. And then the next system coming in, this one goes cross country, but it's going to start with some rain and maybe too much in parts of the west. You're worried about that easy, right? To jump all the way from, temperatures sub-zero to, the 30s and 40s without going through some kind of difficult transition. And that's what's happening this morning. We see it up here in Ohio and western Pennsylvania, where now we do have some snow, but we also have a wintry mix in spots with a little bit of sleet, a little bit of freezing rain. Surface temperatures are still likely cold, that there will be issues on the roadways. So be cautious on your ride. Don't just look at the thermometer. That is one key piece of information you need, but just know that, you've got snow, you've got slush, and it's been cold for quite a while. So it's going to take a minute to warm up. Let's go down though into Tennessee, into all the way down into Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, where it's warm enough that it's all rain. In New Orleans, we've got thunderstorms in the area. Our temperatures are in the 60s. What a change here for us as well. And we get into places like Birmingham. We're above freezing. We're not worried about the frozen stuff, but Atlanta is 31 degrees. Now, the key right now across much of North Georgia is that the dew point has been in the single digits all night. It's just creeping up towards 10 right now. So there's so much dry air in place at the surface that anything that's falling from the sky is going to evaporate at first. The question is, as this comes in, Jim Cantore, will we get a little bit of freeze? And so is the National Weather Service, so are local officials. There actually are some evacuations that go into effect at noon today in areas near the Thomas Fire, the Sherpa Fire, the Ray Fire, the Whittier Fire, because of this rain coming in. We've got 3 to 5 inches of rain very easily that's going to be falling in a short period of time in the areas that just had those large-scale fires. So here's the concern. Mudslides could happen, landslides could happen. And talking about mudslide, what happens is when we get this big heavy rain, it loosens the surface sediments. So, it starts slowly at first, but then it's sort of like the domino effect starts to get going. The rainwater collects, the sediments move down the mountain. Gravity, of course, takes over. And once you get just a little bit of sediment, now you're starting to get bigger boulders, and that takes out trees. You get the slurry of debris that rolls down the mountain. And again, with gravity taking over and just accelerating the movement of this here, of course, it is incredibly destructive. Large boulders, feet of mud, widespread damage can occur. So a trickle of mud sometimes precedes the larger flow, and that can be a clue that this is about to happen. Move to the nearest higher ground, away from the flow path. Also, these things can move at 10 to 35 miles per hour, maybe even as fast as 60. So take them all very seriously, at least the threat